Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the unsolved disappearance of James Roberts. I'd just like to let you know I mean no disrespect to anyone I'm going to talk about. I've gathered this information from the internet and compiled it into a video for educational purposes. James Martin Robert was born on the 22nd of August in 1996, and he grew up in Kernsville in North Carolina. His parents did eventually divorce, but they were still really close. They were a very close-knit family. They all got along and still were very active in each other's lives. He had a really good relationship with them and the rest of his family. He went to school where he was described as being very popular. He played in the football team, which he absolutely loved and he was really good at. After high school, he went to Appalachian State University, which was near Boone in North Carolina. And by all accounts, again, he was really popular there. He went and joined a fraternity and everything just seemed to be going really well for James. When he got into his second year in uni, he actually split up with his girlfriend. He went to this party and he got drunk like normal teenagers would do. But obviously what he did next, you should never do. He got into the car and he drove drunk. He was actually stopped by the police and they arrested him for a DUI. He spent some time in jail before he contacted his girlfriend. She was supposed to pick him up. She drove over 100 miles to go and get him, and when she got there, he'd already gone. And rightly so, she was angry at that. She travelled a long way and he just left. I don't know what happened, whether she was actually angry about that or him drink driving and obviously being irresponsible in that sense. But either way, it caused arguments and they ended up splitting up. He also never told his parents about the drink driving incident, like at all. A few months into his second year, James made the decision that he wanted to take some time out of uni. He told his parents of his decision. He told them that he wanted to get away from pretty much the insanity of frat life and just come away and focus more on himself, which I can totally understand. He took some time out. He focused on his mental health. He cleared his head. He was reevaluating his life, and then he was apparently ready to go back to uni. He let his parents know that he was going back. And as far as they were concerned, everything was back on track. He was doing really well. But what they didn't actually know was that he didn't go back to uni. Instead, he'd enrolled himself into Caldwell Community College. It seems like his plans were to take these online courses to boost up his grades so that he could continue with his university. And that was basically his plan. But he didn't want his parents to know. Possibly he was embarrassed, or I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. He didn't tell them. Regardless of him not going to uni, he continued his frat membership. He kept that up. He kept his social life going, so he would go out with all his friends and things like that. Everything he wanted to keep as normal as he could. From what it looked like, he was trying to set these plans into motion, and he had this goal to just get his life back on track, and he had this plan and it was going to work. Looking into it, it looks like maybe, as I said, he was embarrassed. He didn't really want to tell his parents, like he had these plans to get it back on track anyway, so why would he ever need to tell his parents, because he would be going back to uni eventually. James did half a semester and then he stopped logging in online for his online classes and he just stopped going to campus completely. On the 18th of April, he had a phone conversation with his dad. They were talking about general things like saving money, budgeting, planning for the future, things like that. The call ended and James said that he would either call him tomorrow or the next day, and then they hung up. The following day, James got one of his frat brothers to drive him around so that he could sort of do these errands that he needed to do. He went and got his hair cut. He went and did some food shopping. His actions just seemed normal. Just a typical day for James. But the next day, something happened. He suddenly dropped out of his frat. He left all of his group chats with every single person, every single friend that he was in. Like I said, he was popular. He must have had a lot of friends and he just left them all suddenly. And rightly so, his friends got worried. On the 21st of April in 2016, some of his frat friends went round to check on him. Everything had gone dark and they hadn't heard literally anything from him at all, and they were worried. His roommate said that he hadn't seen him, that he wasn't home, and so they decided to check his room. When they went in his room, they found his laptop, his phone, his wallet, along with a note that was face down on his bed. These items are generally things that people take everywhere with them. Okay, maybe not the laptop, but the phone, the wallet, you're gonna need money. Usually you take your phone everywhere with you to contact people. He was a 19-year-old lad. He would have taken those things everywhere with him most likely. And they were at home just there. Either way, they were worried enough to contact the police. The police obviously began an investigation, and they searched a lot of places for James. They searched the trails, the wooded areas, they shared information across the state. But even up to today, they've not been able to locate the missing 19-year-old. John Roberts said that the note that his son left was vague and ambiguous, but it made him believe at least that he wanted to go off the grid for a period of time. The police have stated that the note left from James did say that he was taking off, but didn't say where he was going. The police didn't really believe that it was a suicide note, but it also didn't say what he was planning to do. He did state that he regretted that he didn't take advantage of certain opportunities that he had had, and basically he was leaving and that was it. It seems like James was really trying to keep up the facade that everything was going great for him. In this note, he kind of allured to being tired of all that, tired of his life and not living up to expectations. So they begin to piece together his last known movements. From what I could find, James left his apartment at around 10:30 a.m. He told his roommate that he was heading over to the university library. Not long after this, he actually ran into his cousin and said that he was heading over to the frat house, which he never actually did. He was then seen on CCTV at a bus stop in front of Home Centre on Blowing Rock Road at around about 12:30 p.m. James was last seen wearing an Appalachian State University jumper, and he was waving goodbye to his cousin who was getting on the bus. He's then seen walking towards a busy intersection, and then he walks out with a frame of the CCTV, and that's it. That was the last confirmed sighting of James. Police did also find that when they looked around his room that they found this crunched up note in the bin, and it was like it was a practice note. So what he'd written in this note, he really took his time to write out, and he really wanted to say what he said correctly. Police began interviewing his friends, and they quickly began to sort of find out that James was lying to quite a few people. He would tell his roommate that he was going out to spend time with his cousin. When they interviewed his cousin, she said that she hadn't actually seen him the whole semester. So it's odd when you think about it. Why was he lying? What was he actually trying to hide? Where was he going when he was saying that he was there when he wasn't? Why lie about that? Why lie about where you're going unless you're trying to hide something? Not only that, he also told friends that he was out working, that he had a job, and when the police looked into it, they couldn't find any evidence of him actually having a job, of him being employed. They did also find antidepressants in his room, which weren't actually prescribed to him. However, the bag that it was in was covered in dust apparently, so it didn't look like he used them a lot, if at all. But why were they even there then if he didn't use them? Why were they in his room? Why did he have some medication that wasn't even prescribed to him? What were his plans for it? There's just so many unanswered questions in this case. It's a complete mystery where James went after that, and even up until today we still don't know. Is he still alive somewhere, living under the radar? The strange thing was that it was pretty odd for James to go completely dark. He was said to be quite a social guy. He would always be out with his friends, always talking to them, always speaking to family members. And it was totally out of character for him to just drop everything and just not speak to anyone at all. He also loved to go out and play online gaming and things like that and watch Netflix like a lot of guys do. So it was odd for him to just walk away from it all. The police have had 2 unconfirmed sightings of James later in the day that he actually went missing, by people saying that they thought they saw him hiking by this lake. It was a place that James had never ever shown an interest in. Yes, okay, he liked camping and he liked hiking, but this area was sort of not known to James like at all. He never normally went there, but again, he could have just gone there, wanting to get away from it all. There was another sighting from one of James's friends who said that he saw him after a few hours of being picked up on the CCTV. He was near the intersection of Flannery Fork, but despite the police searching around that area, they used helicopters, infrared searches. They did ground searches. They searched the bodies of water. They brought in cadaver dogs, searched nearby trails. They searched everywhere, but they didn't find anything. His family also helped with the search efforts. They were volunteers. But it would seem that James just pretty much vanished off the face of the earth. By all accounts, he did actually take the food that he'd gone shopping for the other day, but there wasn't a lot of it, so it wouldn't have lasted very long. As I said, he left his wallet at home, he left all his cards, his credit cards, so he had no money, from what anybody is aware of. The police kept looking, they searched and searched, but they still just didn't find anything to find where he may have gone. There was sort of 2 tattoos that made James distinctive in a sense, which his father believes that he would have never gotten rid of. He had a tattoo of multicoloured mountains on his left forearm. and a tattoo over his right rib cage with a quote from the song Zion Train by Bob Marley. Don't gain the world but lose your soul. Wisdom is better than silver or gold. Basically, that's it though. No one knows where he's gone. No one knows what happened to him, or even if he's still alive. There are a few theories into what people believe happened. Of course, there always are. Some people believe that he joined some sort of hippie group. Others think he may have been involved in drugs or illegal activity, which could explain potentially the medication and the lying. Others think that he maybe went into the woods and died of exposure, or even committed suicide. There were also those antidepressants found in his apartment, which could lean towards that. People also believe that because his family hadn't revealed the entire contents of this note, like in full, that maybe it could somehow give an indication that he was suicidal and that they are just in denial. Of course, not many families will accept that their loved one had committed suicide. The other is that he simply just left on his own accord. He wanted to start again somewhere completely new and is just living a new life somewhere. It's his father's hope that spreading awareness of his case could possibly lead to a sighting of him somewhere, if he's still alive. So it is really important to get these cases out there for the families, and maybe one day he will be spotted and his family might find out what happened to him. I really hope that one day we do find out what happened to James and his family can finally gain closure. And if he is still out there, just to at least contact them and let them know that he's safe. The truth is, nobody knows what happened to James, and one of these theories could be true, or none of them could be. We just have no idea. But yeah, that's the end of the case. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I'll look into them for you. Give me a big thumbs up on this video if you've liked it, and subscribe to my channel for similar content. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the case of James Roberts. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!